Well, shifting to the Middle East now, Kurdish-led SDF forces in Syria have agreed to a new 4-day ceasefire with the government in Damascus. The deal follows intense clashes, the collapse of an earlier deal, and a rapid push by Syrian forces in the Kurdish-held northeast. The U.S.-backed deal requires the SDF to be integrated into the Syrian military, something long rejected by many Kurds. The U.S. previously partnered with Kurdish forces to fight Islamic State militants in Syria. Washington's backing for the ceasefire signals a definitive shift toward the central Syrian government. Speaking earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump was enthusiastic about Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa, calling him a strong guy. His words of support for the Kurds was a bit more muted.
Well, I like the Kurds, but just so you understand, the Kurds were paid tremendous amounts of money, were given oil and other things, so they were doing it for themselves, more so than they were doing it for us. But we got along with the Kurds, and we are trying to protect the Kurds.
Henri Barkey is a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations in New York, and he joins me for more. Henri, welcome. This is all very fluid. The Kurdish side has said that it accepts the ceasefire offered from the Syrian government, but it's also called negotiations a total failure, and I believe it's blamed the Syrian army for already breaking the ceasefire terms. Help us understand where things stand right now.
Look, the situation is very confusing at the moment. We really don't know exactly what's happening on the ground. Remember, there's been a number of ceasefires that have been announced over the last few days, and all of them were broken. And it's clear that the SDF, the Kurds, have been defeated. They got attacked, and they were not prepared for this. And as a result, the Syrian army, which has much larger guns and equipment, got the best of them, and they kept getting pushed, and every time there's been a ceasefire, the demands made by the Syrians increased, and the Syrians are backed both by the United States and Turkey. And in fact, I suspect that the Turks kind of pushed the Americans to give the okay to this onslaught, because for a very long time the Turks had been wanting for the Kurdish entity in Syria to disappear, and they got their wish.
Is the SDF out of options?
Yes. I mean, let me put it this way. I mean, after all, since 2014, the SDF has been fighting and sacrificing people for this fight against ISIS. And President Trump, as usual, is impulsive. He doesn't really care about people. He said that they were paid a lot of money. That's nonsense. Thousands of Kurds died fighting ISIS. And the United States asked the Kurds of Syria to join them because no one else in 2014 was able to stop ISIS. ISIS had taken over all of northern Syria and all of northern Iraq. The Turkish government refused to help the Americans. The Kurds and the Iraqi government were defeated by ISIS. So only the Syrian Kurds emerged to fight with the United States. And this is what they get for their sacrifices. Yes, they made also mistakes. I mean, they were very hard-nosed in the negotiations with the Syrian government. They should have agreed to certain things, transferred certain assets like infrastructure, like dams, and they also made a mistake. But look, given the fact that the United States and the Kurds had been a very close alliance, and they fought together. I mean, the Americans must have known that the Syrians were about to attack, and they did not warn the Kurds, obviously.
Henri, we've seen reports about, if I can just break in, we've seen reports about Kurds coming over from Iraq to support Syrian Kurds. Is there anything substantial to that, were that to happen, that we would see sort of Kurds moving in support of Syrian Kurds?
No, they won't move in large numbers. The Iraqi Kurds are not about to also have a fight with the United States, because when you listen to the American ambassador negotiator for the region, Thomas Barak, he announces de facto that the time of the SDF is over. This is the first time we hear this from an American official, that the time had come for the SDF to disband. A few weeks ago, they were not saying that. So this was, I think, cooked between Erdogan and Trump and Sharaa. And I think the Americans are making a huge mistake, because Sharaa is look, he comes from HTS. It's a jihadist organization. When you look at his government, people will tell you that despite, shall we say, in some of the ministries there are civilians, people don't take orders from them, take orders from the number twos, which tend to be one of Shara's allies, jihadist allies. And
Henri, if I can break in, we have only 30 seconds left. We're about to end the show. I just want to ask you very briefly, what happens next for the Kurds, if you can, in about 30 seconds?
That's very difficult. I mean, they will try to maintain, shall we say, an outpost in Hasaka. The Syrian government has agreed that Hasaka will be run by the Kurds. In the short run, that will happen. But in the longer run, the Syrian government may break that agreement too. So, because they are stronger at this point. So, this also, by the way, is going to have repercussions on Turkey, which we don't have time to explain. But it's going to affect the peace process in Turkey as well, because there are very strong relations between Turkish Kurds and Syrian Kurds, much stronger than Iraq and Syria.
We'll have to leave it there. Henri Barkey with the Council on Foreign Relations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.